It's Sunday morning with Mark Sainsbury.
It's business time now, and if Andrew Patterson wasn't already using it, I would get that great music from Fly to the Conchords. It's business time. Our businessman is Dr. Harold Hillman, author of The Imposter Syndrome. It was Business Book of the Year last year. He's a leadership coach. Basically, Harold spends his time advising, you name any of the big companies around New Zealand and around the world. He is in there helping them do better business and people work better. And we're talking about trust in your work relationships, Harold.
It is important, Mark, and if we really do believe that trust is at the core, just the real core foundation for any relationship, but particularly in business, then understanding what trust really means to us and how we can do a better job at building relationships, it does make good business sense. And and it's important for people to understand that this is not about relationships that are broken or where there's terrible tension or a dynamic between two people. This is just really about working to make sure that you have the strongest possible connections with people at work. It's those connections that really enable you to influence them and for them being willing to put themselves in your hands.
And we're talking here, Harold, about within the same company, relationships with your co-workers as opposed to relationships with people you do business with.
That's right. Even though, Mark, the trust equation, there's a formula that's introduced in a book called The Trusted Advisor by David Meister and several co-authors. And I recommend it to your listeners because it breaks down trust across four elements, and it holds whether we're talking about trust with your coworkers or trust with external customers. I think the equation holds across both.
Okay, four elements, Harold. Give us the four.
Four elements. One is credibility, and that is be who you say you are, and don't overpromise in terms of expectations and then underdeliver. So people will be more willing to put themselves in your hands and trust you if, in fact, you back up what you say with results. And so credibility is an important component. The second one, Mark, is reliability, and that is just be consistent with what you deliver, not only in terms of high quality, on time, and those types of things, but there is a reliability component also in terms of how you show up. Are you overly volatile or are you fairly consistent? It helps if you're fairly consistent if you're trying to build trust. The third factor is this thing called intimacy, and it's really about the personal connection that you have with people and the chance to give people an opportunity to know you a little bit more deeply than just your job title. And it's just something people tend to trust you more if they feel that they have a personal connection, some of the same interests and things like that. And then finally, Mark, the fourth component of this trust equation, which is the biggest and the most powerful one, is you want to leave people having no doubt about your primary interest being in what's good for the business or the team rather than what's good for my own personal success. So this idea of, I'm out for me and, what's in the best interest of me, that will derail a person, whether it's in a personal relationship or a work relationship. That's the biggest derailer around a trust in a relationship.
It's funny you say that, because you'd hear them in any work environment you're in, the worst thing be, old so-and-so, that is out for themselves.
That's right.
That sense that they're out for themselves at the expense of the greater good in the business. Harold, if those are the four elements that need to be there,
yeah.
And I suppose you can work on building, if some of them aren't strong enough, you can work on building those elements. Is there a deal breaker? Is there something where you go, look, this relationship is so stuffed, you'll never be able to build up trust again?
Yeah, this is one of there is such a point, Mark. I call that the point of no return, or where people have gone over the slippery slope in terms of a relationship. And what I often find is that some of those relationships could have been saved had the important conversations happened earlier on. And when things get really personal and when real people feel that their own integrity or things like that have been, violated and it gets real personal, there's no coming back. So my advice to anybody who is struggling with trust in a relationship is put it on the table. Be the person who's big enough to go in in and say, look, I'm sensing that we might benefit from a stronger connection. Can we talk about how we might make that happen? To signal to the person that at least you're trying to, enhance that relationship, which is very important in business.
You know, the thing I like about you, Harold, is you always come up with these problems in business, but you always have the solutions as well, which is why we love to have you on, Harold Hillman. And don't forget, check out Harold's website. It's www.sigmoidcurve, that's sigmoidcurve.com. And you can always follow the good doctor on Twitter at Dr. Harold Hillman, 2 L's, not like the old British car. Dr. Harold Hillman. And we'll talk to you again next week, Harold.
All right, Mark. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.